Hello everybody, welcome back to Blast Away the Game Review. I am your host, Dustin Murphy, and today we're talking Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint on behalf of Ubisoft, who actually provided me with the closed beta codes in order to do this video cut. When I first saw that Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands was about to change the series for better or for worse, I was somewhat unsure about how to feel. I was unsure about the closed world mechanics with a narrative that was linear but enjoyable being taken away. I enjoyed the idea of these very linear but squad based experiences. I enjoyed them to some extent more than I had open world titles before. But what Ubisoft has continued to deliver time and time again with open world changed my mind for better or for worse. Now here we are with the second installment in the open world take of Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon franchise. And in this one, we are once again meeting up with John Bernthal's character, Cody Walker, a former Ghost leader turned rogue, who has joined a faction known as the Wolves. If you have played Wildlands, you should know this story arc as it is extremely important to the overall story with Breakpoint. Now, from the opening seconds of Breakpoint, I felt that I was ensured by Ubisoft that they had picked up several issues from the previous title. One, they ensured that I knew survival was a key element of this game. My character Nomad, who is your returning character from the previous title, would need rest, water, and medical attention in this harsh and dangerous land of a fictional island called Aurora. This fictional island, as you can see just from the opening moments, is not what you would hope it would be. It is deadly, it is ruthless, and it is absolutely controlled by Cody Walker's factions, as well as an unknown corporate entity that we have yet to meet. Secondly, literally almost everything is about to kill you. Whether it's the wolves walking around, whether it's the drones floating about in the air, or even the environment itself. There is always something out there to kill you. Your foes are just as lethal as you are. They are trained like they are a member of the Ghost because they are being led by a former Ghost. Their lethality is justified, allowing for a truly electrifying experience. While you're not going to see it here in the opening moments, you will see it later in this video, where you truly get to see the wolves in action. The other deal that brings this to a bigger feeling is the use of drone technology and this emphasis of drone-based warfare growing unprecedentedly, which does happen actually quite a bit in this beta, and I hope that they really blow it up in the future one. I would love to see more of the drone vehicles. I would love to see more of the drone tech overall. All the possibilities of military warfare being improved upon. Now, here in the opening seconds, you do have to note that the game does emphasize on stealth. One, if you are a fan of, say, Tom Clancy's The Division 2, you're not going to really feel all that left in the dark. You're going to feel right at home. Everything that you knew there has returned here. And it actually works really well for Ghost Recon, taking in this experience that they have from The Division 2 and bringing it to this franchise. It gives you this sense of added depth that wasn't there before. It's a beautifully added layer, and it feels rather organic, which I'm not going to complain about. I love RPGs, I love military shooters, and the idea that both of them have now been combined is actually a really awesome feeling. And it just works, and it feels very natural. Now, one thing I do want to talk about while we're here is I want to go ahead and start talking about the more technical aspects of this game. While the story is something you will openly get to see, we didn't see just a whole lot of it in the closed beta because there wasn't just a whole lot of story for them to show off. Now, they did give you a few moments where you go in, you have to find other members of the Ghost team. You do have to meet some new NPCs. You do get reacquainted with the Ghost War faction. You get reacquainted with the weaponsmith. You get reacquainted with the overall use of how weapons and customization works. But what you don't get reacquainted with is that newly added layer of graphics, animations, and gameplay elements. And in this one, while the narrative storytelling is extremely important, it does drive it forward, The closed beta felt more like a technical test. They wanted to see how does it perform, how does the servers run, how what do people feel in regards to, say, 4K versus 1080p. How do they feel about online versus offline? How do they feel about co-op versus single player? And for this video, I did a lot of it in single player, just for the idea that I've already been experiencing it in co-op with my dad, our vice president of Last Way the Game Review. And on the technical aspects, Breakpoint is actually a major improvement on Wildlands. It runs absolutely smooth. I did not run into any issues on PlayStation 4 Pro. David did run into some stuttering and some frame rate loss on a standard PS4, which should actually be, unfortunately, a thing by now, as games have been optimized for the Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, if you are a standard owner, you aren't going to have as fast load times. Your load-in times will take a little bit longer. Your graphics will stutter a little bit more. You will encounter a few graphical anomalies, which is something even on my PlayStation 4 Pro I did during the closed beta, which, as you can see here, we did get some slight jitter cutouts on the character, which I can assume is just because this might be a pre-rendered video using my character customizations on top of it. That aside, graphics have received an overall performance upgrade, and they look beautiful. They're crisp, they're clean. The shadow lighting is absolutely some of the best that I have seen in this franchise. They have taken a lot from Tom Clancy's The Division 2, and it seems like maybe some of it has also been taken from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I don't have a problem with. I love it. I loved Odyssey. It is absolutely one of my favorite open world games of all time. It stands right there with Skyrim, Oblivion, and even Fallout New Vegas. Now, with all that being said, performance again does remain a key element, and on the performance side itself, it stayed between what felt like a 50-60 frame rates, which may be something they're targeting. They may not be targeting 50-60. It actually may be something closer to 30. But the overall smoothness and crispness on a PlayStation 4 Pro was never lost. Even after hours of gameplay, it ran smooth, it stayed smooth, and the network performance actually was quite impressive. We didn't notice any frame rate drops, we didn't notice lag, we didn't notice anything that would make us go, this is not something we want to play. Whether we were using silencers, whether we were setting up the ability to do a synchronized shot, whether it was us upgrading our weapons, enhancing our abilities in our classes, whether it was weapon recoil or reload speeds, everything felt perfectly timed. Nothing felt out of sync, whether it was offline in a co-op experience or single player experience. It all just worked really, really well. Now, on the audio side, this game is absolutely phenomenal. Everything carries some form of impact, whether it's the subtle amount of the guitar strumming that you can hear in the background, whether it is wind blowing in the trees, whether it's the sound of a drone hovering up above, whether it is a gun being shot. Everything feels, again, very organic, very natural. And even to the point that when you walk, the sound of your boots hitting water and then the mud underneath the boots is actually there. Does take a keen ear to hear it, but it's there. I mean, everything is absolutely beautiful and very well crafted, and none of that integrity is really lost in the overall experience. Now, one thing that does come as a bit of a take back is the island itself isn't nearly as big. Even though you're doing quests, you're picking things for the Ghost War, you're picking faction missions, or you're doing anything PvE, the game itself does carry this sense of weight to it. Everything feels like there's a story ready to unfold. Unfortunately, we did not get to do Ghost War. I don't even think it was in the closed beta at all. But we did get to do several missions, which you do go find out more about what's going on in the background. You do find out more about Cole Walker. You do find out more about the Wolves. You do find out more about this company that is powering literally his faction. But you also get to work with rebel factions that are fighting back against both Cody Walker and this corporation and trying to stay alive this entire time. It does work for a most part. There is still some story improvement, which we may see in the full version, that needs to happen to really give you this idea of what is happening, why this is happening, why does this corporation want no one to leave, why are they stuck on this island, why are the wolves here, besides the fact that we know that Cody Walker is really mad at the United States government. He is beyond mad at even, it seems like, the world governments, which does and doesn't work, but we will see what happens on that front. Now, I do want to talk about some minor issues we did have with the closed beta, which did crop up rather often compared to what I would hope to have had. One is we did have some graphical anomalies where the camera should have zoomed in on our character. Well, you won't be seeing this, but there's a screenshot in the written preview. You can see that link down below and go in and scroll down. There will be a picture with it where the character and even the background, and this happened for this entire cutscene, where everything had blurred out. Everything was really hard to see. It felt like something had just gone really wrong, or maybe this was intentional, as this may not have been one of those that had been polished because they're still working on the final version. But the bug was still there, and it still left a little bit to be desired from the overall experience. Now, even with that being said, there was other issues with vehicle handling, which we'll touch up on here in a bit. As you can see on screen right now, though, drones do play a role. There's drones, basically, in a way, they alert nearby wolves or nearby troops that you are there. You will still find intel that will help you get new weapons, new attachments, or even complete new faction missions, or find a location you haven't been to yet. So, just like Wildlands, you do have to go over to where they were lost or where they're at. You do still have to obtain your blueprints or the weapon itself. And in this one, you actually obtain the blueprints. You go to the gunsmith. She actually builds the guns for you. So that all works in its own right. It does give you this sense of, hey, I got this new weapon. Here's the parts. Can you build it? Or here's the blueprint. Can you build it out of the resources you have? Now, enemies do fill up the entire map. They are not pushovers like they were during the Bolivian missions in Wildlands. These guys are a lot more fierce. They will use tactics against you. They will use equipment much like your own. They will jam your equipment. They will make it so their tactics will overwhelm you, especially in a single player experience. But if you're playing co-op, it's a little easier to manage their forces. But it all comes down to communication being key. Now, on one side, I do want to talk real quick about vehicle handling. As you can see here, I am getting in a vehicle. Vehicle handling has a lot of room for improvement. It is not the best. It is very arcadey, almost unresponsive for my liking. You would think with the teams being behind the crew, being a part of Ubisoft, they could have gotten some feedback from them, or even had them design how cars handle, because I can tell you right now, cars and vehicles handle a lot better in Wildlands. I don't know if it's because the terrain is a lot more open. I don't know what had happened, but cars just feel really, really not right. Something about them feels really off, and I can't say I enjoyed driving them. I actually fast traveled as much as I could once I started unlocking fast travel points, because I didn't want to be in a car. I didn't want to be in a motorcycle. I didn't want to be in a helicopter, because nothing felt right about how the vehicles handled. They had a lot of room for improvement, and I really hope when this game launches on October 4th that this is really sorted out, because this is going to be one of those points where if the vehicles don't handle well, people aren't going to be happy, because one, the map is absolutely massive. There's a lot to it, and travel is going to be a key element of this game, aside from hoofing from point A to point B or from point B to point D. The map itself is just massive. You know, vehicles, again, are your main mode of transportation outside of running from here to there. Now, with that being said, weapon handling itself actually is pretty damn good. This is actually one of the smoothest experiences I've had with a video game where weapon handling is a thing. You do get to roll around. You do get to get a feel for what weapons have to offer. Every weapon comes with its own response rate. Every weapon comes with its own range, its own bullet penetration, its own recoil, its own silence. It's everything has their own upgrades. Even I mean, nothing in this game doesn't scream upgrade me or I have a different playstyle. Your ability to remain stealth-like and undetected is of utmost importance. But don't expect an LMG to have a silencer. They won't. Don't expect some SMGs to have a silencer. They won't. Don't expect all the assault rifles to have a silencer. They may not. So that's one of the really cool things about this game is they aren't going to go, hey, you're going to use stealth all the time. You will need to use tactics. You will need to plan ahead. You will need to use that drone of yours. You will need to use some of your equipment. That is a key element of this overall experience, and it works really, really well. And I was really happy to see that put on the forefront. As you can see here, my character's still recovering from a wound. She was shot in the leg, and earlier in the video before this area, she had bandaged it up, and she's still recovering. I mean, she's still injured, and it's really nice to see something like that. As you can see here with a designated rifle, we are going to go back to the point of weapons. Speaking of weapons, we do have to talk about what's the damage like. This is a DMR. You're not going to expect one shot kills. They aren't a thing with this gun, and most of that's because the silencer actually does do some things to your weapons. It does reduce range, damage fall off, all that kind of stuff. It does exist. It's a wonderful feature, and I'm glad that minor attention to detail was added into the overall appeal of the game. Now, with that being said, the drone itself does play a role. It will help you see if there's enemies nearby. It will try to detect them if it can. You can navigate it around the map still. I didn't do that here, mostly for the fact that it was all about timing and getting everything situated. Now, with that being said, I do want to say, again, there is an emphasis on survival. You do have to worry about thirst. You do have to worry about your equipment, such as your med kits, your first aid supplies. The other thing you have to somewhat worry about, again, is your factions. They do play a role. You will take advantage of them. As you can see here, you will unlock stuff as you progress with each of your factions. This does work kind of like a battle pass. You do get new customizations, new items, and other things to unlock, such as skins, weapon appearances, that kind of stuff. So it's all cosmetic, but it does exist. For some of you, that may not be something you enjoy. But with that being said, as you can see, we've touched everything you could really touch. The game, again, runs absolutely smooth. It is a crisp experience. All the weapons handle very uniquely. The overall design of this map is absolutely gorgeous. It is one of the most well-designed settings I've ever seen. It has multiple terrain types. You are going to go between mountains to forest to swamp to island. It all is there, and it works really well. Now, again, performance is crisp. It's clean. Don't expect a lot of, in the sense of frame rate drops. Performance remains a key element, and Ubisoft does not forgo that touch. With all this said, I do highly recommend you giving this game a chance, especially in the open beta, which is coming up next week. You can enjoy it for free of charge. Anyone who owns a PC, an Xbox, or PlayStation 4 can jump in starting September 26th until September 30th, when the betas will end. This is a open invitation to everybody, so all you have to do is go to the PlayStation Store, Uplay, or Xbox, go to your Windows Store and download from there from the Microsoft Store. Now, I do want to thank all of you for tuning in. I am going to leave you with some gameplay here. You get to actually enjoy the gameplay itself. Again, I'm Dustin with Blast Away the Game Review, and thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk
test of a man's worth is battle. When those rounds come screaming past your head, you're gonna learn if you're hungry enough to take that victory. We're going to battle with the soldiers that we used to be. Ghosts. And you better believe that they are hungry too. Once upon a time, some of these ghosts, they may have been your friends. And there is brotherhood. But then there is what the world needs. These ghosts, they are the past. They still serve the machine that we left behind. And right now, for the future, the world needs us. I'm honored. I'm honored to be here with you tonight. And as you head into battle, with that mean look in your eye and those bad intentions in your mind, remember this. You are the few with the courage to make history. You have the desire to take victory. You will be on a battlefield full of ghosts, but only you